Today we're discussing Cadence of Hyrule. I'm your host Marqus, and joining me today, as always, are the homies. First up, we have Dante.
Dante.
Okay. Next, we have Trevor.
Trev. Oh, I don't know what we're doing.
And last but not least, we have the homie Greg.
Greg.
Actually, and I said the title wrong. It's Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda. But yeah, this is... Wait, first of all, Dante, do you want to explain what that was about?
You gotta stay on beat.
Oh,
it's very concerning to me that Trevor didn't like. Did you not?
I didn't know we were there. I didn't hear a beat, so I was just like, "Dang, am I? Are we spelling it out?" INDEPEN.
I'm about to mute myself. This is Greg's second game for the month of March, so I'm gonna let him introduce it.
Okay. So why did I pick this game? Nothing really other than I just recently got a Switch, and it was kind of on my short list of games that I was kind of looking forward to playing on the Switch. So I was like, might as well go ahead and knock this out with the podcast. So Cadence of Hyrule is a rhythm-based roguelike. Players venture across the overworld composed of predefined regions and map layouts related to Zelda lore, but whose relative placement is procedurally generated for each new save file. The map remains the same throughout the entire game, but certain dungeons will be randomly generated every time they are visited. The rhythm-based element of the game is when enemies are present, the player has to move and attack based on the beat of the song playing. Bonuses can be gained for maintaining the beat. As you progress through the game, there are also upgrades that are found or can be purchased. Cadence was developed by Brace Yourself Games and directed by the Crypt of the Necrodancer creator Ryan Clark. The game began its development when Clark reached out to Nintendo to ask for permission to use the Legend of Zelda content as DLC for the Switch port of Necrodancer. Clark said that mutual interest in the idea grew faster than they were expecting, and eventually the idea of DLC turned into a crossover game. The game takes place in the Kingdom of Hyrule, where a mysterious man named Octavo uses a magical lute to put Hyrule's king, as well as Link and Zelda, to sleep before using the Triforce of Power to turn his lute into a golden lute. Cadence, who's the character from Crypt of Necrodancer, is mysteriously transported to Hyrule by the Triforce and manages to wake up Link and Zelda. The game was well received with an 85 on Metacritic and ending up on several Best of the Year categories at the end of 2019. And that's all I got.
Okay, so you did say that the reason you chose this game was because it was just something that was on your list for Switch when you first got Switch?
Yeah.
So did you have any background or with the Zelda Legend of Zelda series?
Outside of just kind of like casually playing them, I don't think I've ever beaten a Zelda game, but like I've played like several of them, but that's about it.
Gotcha.
And I didn't play Crypt. I played like maybe 10-15 minutes of Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Okay. Yeah, so you already knew what you were kind of getting yourself into. Gotcha. What about you, Trevor?
I was just going to ask Greg real quick. I may have missed it in your intro, but was Crypt of the Necrodancer inspired in any way by Zelda? I've never played Crypt of the Necrodancer, so...
Oh, nah, not that I can think of, no.
Okay.
I think, not necessarily inspired, but I think that it's like a roguelike, so a lot of the weaponry and it just being in a dungeon kind of will automatically get some parallels to Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think weapon-wise, like, I think that this game takes weapons and, like, kind of the ways they hit from Cadence, which is, I think, uniquely Cadence. I don't think that's ever been...
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't played Crypt of the Necrodancer, but pretty much everything I've seen.
What was the question, Marcus?
So and then the question for you was, what is your background with the Legend of Zelda franchise, if any?
So I have played a few handheld games, and I was just looking at that list before we started recording. So I've played Link to the Past on Game Boy Color, Four Swords, one of the Oracle's games, and Phantom Hourglass. And one reason why I was looking that up was because I thought it was interesting that I've never played a game with Ganon proper in it, besides Smash.
Yeah,
I guess.
Is Ganon not in like the newer Zelda games? I haven't played anything like since Twilight Princess. I think that was the last one I played.
When I was looking up some of Ganon's appearances, it says he appeared, or Ganondorf appeared in Phantom Hourglass. And of course, I don't know the difference between Ganon and Ganondorf. But he had a cameo in Phantom Hourglass.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Ganon is the pig form, or like the animal form, and Ganondorf is the humanoid form. I believe that's the distinction.
Correct.
But yeah, that's it as far as the Zelda games that I've played.
Sure. What about you, Dante? What's your background with Zelda?
I think my first real Zelda was Ocarina of Time for the N64. Pretty sure I got that pretty close around launch. Pretty much immediately became a fan of the series, even though I think that was like 6 or 7, and I definitely couldn't beat that game without a guide, so it was one of those where I had to go back to it probably like a year or two later to actually finish it. And then after that, pretty much I've played every major Zelda game aside from I did not do Four Swords, Spirit Tracks, or the Oracle games. Really about it.
So would you consider yourself like a fan then? If this goes to everybody, would any of you guys consider yourselves like a fan of Zelda?
Yeah, I'd say so. If there's a Zelda game, I have a pretty good assurance it's probably going to be a quality game, so I will probably pick it up.
I completely forgot I have played the game on Switch. Drawing a blank.
Twilight Princess?
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, Breath of the Wild.
Oh, Breath of the Wild. Yeah, sorry.
I didn't finish it, though. That's the only one I've played that I haven't finished it. But I'm definitely a fan of Zelda. I think after playing Breath of the Wild, while the game was fun, I think I'm more so a fan of the side-scrolling, or not necessarily side-scrolling, but the classic
Top
handheld.
down.
Yeah.
Is it not isometric, is it? Just top down?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I've played a couple of Zelda games. So I had played, I think my first one was Oracle of Seasons on Game Boy Color. So I had Seasons and my brother had Ages. I did eventually beat Seasons, but I didn't really get to experience all the stuff you get out of those two games, like playing with the link cable and all that stuff. And then I did get Wind Waker, but I was one of those people that kind of fell off when I was one of those people that was complaining about the sailing, but also I was probably too inexperienced playing video games to like do well at that game.
Was this still at the point? Was this still at the point in your life where you were skipping cutscenes?
Oh yeah, story, everything. Yeah. So I had no idea what was going on. I just knew it was like, there's so much sailing in this game. I don't like it. I kind of didn't really play another Zelda. I did play Four Swords Adventures. I had that on GameCube and did the whole like playing on your Game Boy Advance thing, and that was all right. But I kind of just didn't play another Zelda until Breath of the Wild, and that game, I freaking love that game. So but on the flip side of Trevor, I think that I wouldn't consider myself a Zelda fan. I think I'm just a Breath of the Wild fan because I appreciate and enjoy the gameplay in this traditional style of Zelda, but it's only okay to me. Like after playing Breath of the Wild, like it was kind of hard to like go back and experience the old way Zelda was played. And I do like Wind Waker as well. I just like the more open world 3D style of Zelda game now.
Which Zelda did you go back to after Breath of the Wild?
Wait, say that again?
Which Zelda did you go back to?
This one. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I have been thinking about after playing this one, playing Link to the Past on the Switch. I've been thinking about going back to that, but like just the idea of playing like that style is just kind of like what's deterring me. I will at some point, but I'm just kind of like, do I want to make this plunge because it's a long commitment, a time commitment.
I guess the one thing I would say is don't let this game color your expectations for Link to the Past too much. Aside from like even the map, I say don't, because like the way the map works is pretty different as well. Like the geometry of the map is very similar, but the actual like uses of what you do on the map is.
The other question I had is it worth it to like not play any of this stuff before? Because I mean I can play the first one on the NES version of on Switch, and it's like, is it worth playing that one first and then going to Link to the Past?
Okay, so nobody else has played the original Legend of Zelda, have they?
Like I guess when I was like 6 or whatever, but that was it.
Okay, and Trevor said he only played the handheld. So that one is kind of like, in a lot of ways, the true progenitor to Breath of the Wild, where you don't really have I guess you have a map, but they don't give you any, I guess, guidance on where to go for real, and it's kind of just this open world adventure of sorts. So a lot of throwbacks can be seen between those two games in specific. Breath of the Wild kind of like picks up a lot of things from a lot of Zeldas, but like the whole just go whichever direction you want at the beginning is 100% like a original Legend of Zelda thing. And your mileage may vary. Like, I really enjoyed the original Zelda, but I also know a lot of people that would consider it kind of unplayable in 2021 because like Switch gives you the save state so you can, save and whatnot, but there is a lot of just trial and error, and the game doesn't hold your hand or any.
Gotcha. Well, I think we. Oh, and I'm assuming last thing. I'm gonna say that I'm assuming that Dante or Trevor, you don't have any Cadence of not Cadence, any Crypt of the Necrodancer experience.
Right.
I had been trying to get that game in particular on. I've been putting that on a couple of my lists to get us to cover that game, and this was when Dante was gone, and Greg and Trevor were not having it, so I was a little bit salty when I was like, oh, well, we can play Cadence of Hyrule, no problem, but we can't play Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Well, I will say, I knew more about Cadence of Hyrule because one of my good friends, he's a big fan of Cadence, and one time when I went over to his place, I mean, he just had the soundtrack playing in the background like the whole time I was over there, and I think he maybe watched a speed run or two of it, or he was watching a speed run of it.
Just saying, like we could have played it a long time ago before before Greg had his Switch. Been perfect. But Dante, had you played Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Nope.
Dante?
Oh, I said no.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I hadn't. It'd been a game that I was really interested in, so I wasn't necessarily sad we were playing Cadence. It was just kind of like, crap, I wish, we could have played the first one earlier, or the original, I guess you could say, earlier. But yeah, what do we want to talk about first? So you kind of covered the story, Greg. You got the just about the Octavo.
I assumed it was Octavo. I didn't look it up, but I didn't know if it was.
So you start the game, and I'll just read the plot. It says, in the kingdom of Hyrule, a mysterious man named Octavo uses a magical lute to put Hyrule's king, as well as Link and Zelda, to sleep before using the Triforce of Power to turn his lute into a golden lute. In this time of need, Cadence, who Cadence is the I think he's the name of the character from Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yep.
But he, Cadence is mysteriously transported to Hyrule by the Triforce, and from there the game starts, and you have to decide on who you want to wake up first, whether it be Zelda or Link. And who did you guys choose? Because I had an idea in my head what was going to happen. At this point, I think you knew that there was 4 magical instruments that you had to get. So I was thinking it was going to be 2 and 2. Like you do 2 as Link, and then 2 as Zelda was what I was thinking.
Isn't it
Anybody
like
else?
whoever you pick, they give you the opposite? I couldn't remember now. Like, because
Who
I
you
ended up
chose
playing.
was who you play as.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, okay. So I played Zelda for most of the game.
Okay. What about you guys, Trevor and Dante?
Yeah, I played as Link.
I
was Link as well.
Yeah, I played as Link as well. Okay, interesting. I as far as I could tell, there was no differences. I think like Zelda had like I guess her shield was her little reflectability. Right?
Yeah, so you can't like hold that out or like. Well, you eventually it levels up to where you can hold it, but like normally you have to time it. So
okay, but she had all the normal or like traditional Zelda items, right? Like the dang, what is it called? Like the power glove and the hook shot and like all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The boomerang. Okay. Did she ever attack with weapons, or did you attack like was it always the animation was with your hands?
no, you get weapons. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So going forward, while Cadence goes off to try to find a new way home, you, as the player, play Link or Zelda and travel across Hyrule to find and defeat Octavio's 4 champions who each possess enchanted instruments containing musical power. And basically, from there, you basically have 4 dungeons you have to complete, and each one culminates in a boss battle that Octavio kind of sticks on you, some type of instrument, and you have to defeat it. What did you guys think? And I guess can you explain the gameplay, Greg?
Yeah. So I mean the way that it pretty much turns out is, so while you're playing, when enemies are on the screen, there's like music playing. I mean, there's music playing throughout the entire game, but once there's enemies on the screen, there's basically like a beat counter, I guess, at the bottom of the screen, and I'm trying to figure out a way to like explain that part, like how it's set up. But basically, there's like a beat counter, and what you have to do is move around the environment on beat, and also attack enemies on beat or block on beat, use items on beat. So it's kind of this. I don't know. It's kind of like this weird flow to how combat works in the game.
I think that was a good explanation. Yeah, it's like you have this like thumping like kind of rhythm, so you're hearing like remixed kind of versions of the traditional Zelda music, and there's like Greg said, is like there's this like beat undertone to the music that you're moving to, and it's just like doon 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 doon. So like you're moving, like, so when you click in a direction, you're clicking to that beat. Or when you're using one of your items that is equipped to one of the face buttons on your controller, then you're hitting that button on that beat. And you're like, kind of like Greg said, it just becomes like a how did you say it?
Like a weird flow, I guess.
Yeah, like it's like it's really interesting. And what did you guys think about it, Trevor and Dante?
Honestly, I was not a fan, just because, I don't know, because it was presented in that same form of like the Zelda games that I'm used to playing. I wasn't prepared for it.
Gotcha.
And so it was kind of off-putting at first. And it doesn't take its time like throwing you into like large quantities of enemies. Like they might be easier to beat like than they are like later on in the game, but they still put quite a few of them on the screen.
We'll get to that. Don't worry.
And so I actually didn't even play in that mode throughout the entire game. Like I ended up switching. I think it was like close to when I got to. I think it was like the forest. It was like whenever enemies started
the Lost
taking.
Woods.
Yeah, it was like when enemies started requiring more than like 2 or 3 hits to kill. And I was just like, you know what? Let me try out this other mode, and I actually preferred it because it makes it feel more like a strategy game, because you can, like, everybody still moves to the beat, but it's like
you don't have to.
Yeah, when you move, when you take a step forward or when you turn, everybody else makes their turn at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
it's like you can almost see, you look at each enemy and it's like, okay, which direction is this enemy facing? That means they can't attack me if I move here because they're facing a different direction. And so it kind of helps you create like a strategy of how can I move to kill all these enemies without getting hit, rather than it being more time based.
So did you ever switch? I think it's called fixed beat mode, right?
I think so. I can't remember the name of it.
Did you play the rest of the game?
Yeah, I enjoyed the game a lot more in that mode, so I just kept it there.
So you never like after a while switched just to kind of see if like
I was like, man, this feels so much better.
I thought about switching to that one, like, because the beginning of the game, like when you first started, that was kind of rough, and I thought about switching to it, but I felt like I was gonna ruin the experience, so I didn't.
I just got tired of dying. I was like, man,
I respect that.
I bet you didn't even die that many times.
I think when I was looking at it, I died a total of like 20.
You didn't even die that many times.
And the majority of those were from when I, like before I switched to the other mode.
I would hope so. I died 34 times.
Oh, hold on. Let me see how many I died real quick. It had to be way more than that.
So like it's crazy to me that you did that, because you get that same experience playing the turn-based experience playing in the timed or on beat version. It's just that you have to process it quicker. So that's why I was asking if you went to it, because for me I would have been like, once I get the handle of how combat / the combat goes, then I would feel comfortable to add the music to like get comfortable with the gameplay part too. But I guess not.
I really gave it a chance, but I was just like, this
and I
feels
only
so
died
much
24 times.
I was like, this feels so much better. Like I'm really glad they added that different gameplay to the game.
You mean added the baby mode?
Yeah. Because if they hadn't, this game would have been rough for me.
Yeah. So everybody did complete the game though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know Dante did. Okay. Yeah, man, like we can touch on it now, but the ramp up for this game has a ridiculous learning curve. Like they don't really, it's basically, I think their tutorial in this game, and you can probably remind me if I'm wrong, Trevor, but it's like, you see that enemy? Here's how you move. Here's how you attack.
Yep, pretty
Go
much.
get him, Tiger.
And it's just like, all right, let me walk up to this enemy. I'm gonna walk up on him. Wait, what? He attacks me at the same time?
I did the same thing. That, and then also like it's the learning curve for me was seeing the game in the traditional way, but not being able to just hold down or like hold a direction. Like that was the thing where it was like telling my brain, no, you need to like play it this way, not the way you're used to playing it, because it looks like one thing, but it doesn't act that way,
Yeah, because I'm used to playing games, like I said, on Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, so I was already using the directional pad, but with the Switch, I initially started using the joystick, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't efficient at all, so I ended up switching back to using the D-pad.
Sure.
They actually reprimand you for trying to use the joystick.
I think I did see that, but I forgot what it said. What did you guys, Greg or Dante, did you guys run into that same issue? I'll kick it to you first, Dante, since you were about to say something.
The issue of the difficulty ramp-up thing?
Not just that, but just like your brain, like you seeing the way the game looked and trying to play it one way and not paying attention to the music.
So the issue I had with the music is I'm pretty familiar with most of the tracks, or the original versions of most of the tracks in this game. But the beat they wanted you to follow wasn't like, if you were to like map it to Rock Band or something,
it wouldn't be the notes you hit.
Huh?
It wouldn't be the notes that you hit.
Exactly. It's like I don't really care about the baseline in any of these. Like, if I go to, like, the overworld, dun, 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 like, I want it to be bop, 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 bop. But this game's more like bop, 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 bop.
You're a metronome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
I was thinking the same thing too, because I was getting in my head like this music, because like sometimes it was at a hindrance if you paid attention to the music, because sometimes like it was like not hitting on the notes that you wanted to hit on.
Exactly. It was also kind of hard to, like, just because that was the case, the little beat bars at the bottom, but it's kind of, I don't want to say counterintuitive, but you're trying to focus on the action on the top of the screen, and then you have to kind of look down and be like, oh snap, I'm like a second off according to the game.
There's that was one of the issues that I ran into, in addition to just kind of learning the movement. I would say majority of the time I died in the beginning was movement issues, or not, just like information overload, because I was like trying to pay attention, because like in a normal Zelda game you start off with like 2 or 3 hearts. And so I'm like trying to pay attention to my health in the top left, making sure that I'm what my percentage on certain items are or whatever, like with the bombs and everything in the top right, and then at the bottom of the screen is the little metronome. And when I see like I'm trying to pay attention to the center of the screen and all the action that's going on, and making sure that I'm moving where I need to with the enemies. And once you get off on like the beat, then it's just like, oh crap, and you like miss a couple of notes before you get back on track, and that screwed me over a lot earlier on. What was it for you guys with the ramp up?
The problem I guess I had early on was like, first it was like trying to pay attention to the beat, because like trying to look around, see the enemies, move, and try and like not die the entire time. That was like the initial thing. Then eventually I got used to matching the beat, and then the problem I would have is I could move and like I could get to enemies, but then like I would want to just kind of keep swinging and not on beat, so I would mess up my bonus sometimes, just kind of trying to like, oh, I'm just gonna keep trying to like run into him to attack him, but I'm doing it off beat, so I lose a bonus. Or there's times where I would want to use an item, but I wasn't using my items on the beat, so then that would mess me up too. So it's like little stuff like that. But I think by the end of the game, I got most of that stuff ironed out.
Oh, sorry, myself was muted. And what about you, Trevor? Because I know you were saying like you got thrown a bunch of enemies. Was it just the sheer amount of enemies you had to deal with?
Yeah, it was more so the enemies, because I was like, the thing I liked about the other mode was like being able to plan out my routes from one enemy to the other, whereas like playing in the the regular mode, it's like the enemies don't like swarm you or anything, but if you get into a bad position with some of the enemies that are more aggressive, like you will get surrounded, and it almost seems like there's really no way out. And I think that's where the difficulty kind of ramps up, is when you get to those more aggressive enemies. And then you also like get to points where there are enemies who are throwing projectiles at you. Mm-hmm. There are some that dash at you. There are some that
Can I guess at what you're gonna say? So there are some that are like kind of attack on cardinal directions, like up, down, left, right, and then some attack on diagonals.
Mm-hmm. And that was like, and I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but like one of my favorite weapons was the flail, and the flail allows you to attack in a was it like an L shape?
Yeah, L shape.
And that was like my strategy for moving through enemies, because I didn't like going face to face with enemies. I would always try to come at them at the side, and that was my strategy for taking down a lot of them. And doing that with the fixed time mode, really, felt better than the other mode.
Yeah. I really dug it was definitely a learning process for me. Just kind of, I felt like they threw so many different types of enemies at you in the beginning that it was like kind of tricky to kind of learn. You're learning like 5 or 6 different attack patterns on a particular screen, and just trying to memorize that and then just pay attention to the beat. So they kind of throw a lot of different plates that you basically have to juggle in the beginning of the game, and I feel like that was a lot of the learning curve, is just like beating your head against the wall of the different types of enemies, staying on beat, and just kind of like just all these different tasks that you kind of have to juggle. And so that's what kind of makes this game, I think, work really, 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 really well as a roguelike, is because they kind of, and we were talking about our deaths a little bit, but they kind of give you a little bit of an bonus, or I don't know how you want to call it, like a little reward. It's not necessarily a reward, but just to try to make your life easier. So as you're playing your Cadence, like you're on a single screen, and once you defeat all the enemies on a particular screen, they'll basically remove the metronome aspect, so you can move at normal pace, like the traditional, just like left, or whatever pace you want. But then they also, once you kill that last enemy, they often drop what they call in this game the currency of a diamond. And what those are is, as you're clearing more and more screens, you're getting more diamonds, and sometimes there's bonuses that you can get, like ×2 or +2 or +3 or whatever like that. But when you die, you get basically this screen before you come back, and you can kind of use that currency to kind of aid you and give you a head start with certain items that you need to like clear more screens, whether it be, you can, for 10 diamonds you can get 5 bombs, or you can get a torch, which torches help you find hidden secrets and just kind of burn foliage. And then they also have shovels, which shovels allow you to also dig for dungeons and like little secrets and things like that. So it kind of not incentivizes you to die, but what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Like because the only game I can think of like this is like when you play Rogue Legacy and you die on a run, that currency you collect, you get to keep, and then you get to use to purchase things.
Isn't that any rogue, though?
Is that any what?
Any rogue?
Well, I mean,
because Dead Cells does it, like...
Dead Cells...
Well, it doesn't do it, like, at the beginning.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, that's the rogue like element in... Yeah.
Like Hades does. Like, most rogues that I've played have...
Yeah, I was trying to think of Spelunky, if Spelunky did it. But yeah, like, and that's the rogue element of that. And I wanted to know, what did you guys think about that? Because I felt like that was a really big... that helped me learn the game and get better at the game. Like, being able to make some progress. It's like, even though I die, I'm not starting like at the bottom. Like, I'm at least making a little bit of progress and feel like I'm getting a little bit better. And that kind of incentivized me to want to stick to it.
Yeah, it was kind of the same way with me. Like, I think initially it was pretty rough and I wanted to bounce off it pretty quick, but kind of sticking around for a little bit and, trying to get some more items and find some more hearts. Because really the survivability was like the hardest part for me, because I would run into enemies and then make 2 mistakes and that was it, So yeah, but yeah, that definitely helped out a lot.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. What about you, Dante?
I really didn't find the rupees that helpful outside of like the very, very beginning, because the main lady that you go back to when you die, she offers you, I think, 2 hearts. And then after that, I really didn't bother with her. There's some other items you can buy at shops along the way, but for the most part, like, I don't know. I mostly use the sword as my main weapon, so it wasn't really my best benefit to get bombs and whatnot.
I usually tried to get a torch because I felt like I was burning everything. Like, when I cleared a screen of enemies, I was clearing everything else off that too.
So the thing about that is the torches like go out so quickly. I knew I was gonna. Well, you find them so quickly, and they also go out really quickly. So I didn't even bother because I knew I was gonna find one within a screen.
Yes, that's true. But like, I know when I died in dungeons, I always made sure I got a shovel and a torch because I didn't want to travel around without having those things in a dungeon. But you're right. You would get them so they were so frequent that you got them. But I think specific. Go ahead.
I was gonna actually ask this kind of a jumping off point where any of you, I guess, how did you guys feel about the whole weapon degradation here? Not even the degradation, but I guess the picking up of items in this game.
I normally hate that in video games, but in this game it wasn't that bad because as soon as you lose something, once you kill a couple of enemies, you end up finding like the basic form of it. And a lot of the bonuses that you got from like the rarer versions of those items weren't like, I don't know, it wasn't like it was a huge loss if I lost, you know, a torch that you know, lit up a huge area but also drained my my stamina. But I don't know, I don't know, it didn't seem that bad to me.
I mean, I was okay with using stuff, and it was something that I learned as I went on, because like when I first started, I was constantly buying like those lower end items, but once I got better, I was like, I need to preserve these diamonds because these will be useful for later. The other thing that I was appreciative about was that you only used or lost the usable or like expendable items. Like I was so glad that you weren't losing like items in your actual inventory, like the traditional Zelda stuff, because that would have been annoying. And I'm glad that they decided, no, you can make some progress in the game, because I know I was worried about that.
Yeah, I think that would have been a little rough.
Well, I mean, that's what I assumed in the beginning, because I was just like, holy crap, like I keep dying and I haven't even gotten anything. I'm like dying after like a couple of screens.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and say I really wasn't a fan of the whole item system in this game, just because like in a rogue, in my opinion, they like the whole make or break part of a run is the items you have. And I feel like they did not do a very good job of giving you a description of items that you picked up. And
that's definitely true.
Yeah, like you just pick up stuff because it's there most of the time, and it automatically replaces whatever you had. And most of the time, I just didn't have a good foundation on whether I should keep what I have, should I upgrade. Like eventually, very late into the game, like probably I'd say 3/4 of the way through, I could kind of eyeball some of the different torches and stuff like that. But in general, I probably picked up so many stupid shovels that were worse than the shovel I currently had. But there was just no way for me to like fact check that in any significant way.
Or like play with a certain mindset in mind, or whatever, or way you play in mind. I didn't know. Did you guys know or realize that you just keep all the weapons you get though? Like between deaths.
I think you mean like the
like the sword or
any primary weapons.
Yeah, like certain weapons, the ones that aren't like glass weapons or.
Yeah. Did you guys know you kept them? Because like I didn't find that out until later. Because there was definitely like I preferred the spear. That was because the one that you could hit 2 squares in front of you. That was my item of choice, and like I was like, man, I don't want to use this. Like the flail was cool, but I felt like I ended up using it way quicker, or like using it all the time, and I didn't like it as much, the animation as much as the spear. But did you guys have like a weapon that you liked, that you tried to always use?
Pretty much always use the spear for the most part. I think once I ended up getting Link towards the end, I would use him a little bit more, so he had the sword, and I forget what else he has. He has a spear as well, I think, too.
He has a spear, and he has a long sword, I think, that hits 3 spaces in front, but you can't use the shield. Yep. And then he has like one. I also like the one that hit the 2 squares in front of you, like the one directly in front of you and to the right.
Yeah, I like both the broadsword and the longsword of Link. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And did you guys enchant your weapons?
Oh no. Yeah, obsidian.
No, I didn't.
I was confused because you, Trevor, specifically said like you weren't doing enough damage, and I was like, the sword that I had, since I enchanted it, it was doing 3 damage.
Well, no, that was like earlier on when you got to enemies that took multiple hits to kill. But like, I think about 60% of the way through the game, I know it was past the halfway mark, but you started getting much better weapons, and I even started getting them almost back to back. Especially once you get to like the final dungeon, like it seems like it's just throwing high-powered weapons at you.
Yeah, definitely. You do get a lot of like the beefier stuff at the end. But yeah, I didn't realize you could upgrade weapons. So no, I didn't do that.
Yeah, there's two
how
places.
did you do that?
The first place I found gave you the option to enchant it with poison, and it did poison damage to the enemies. Or you could enchant it with, I think it was obsidian, which gave it a little bit more damage. And then there was another place that you could go to. I forgot those 2 bonuses. You remember, Dante?
So the one that I was familiar with was like, I think it must have been obsidian because it also had the +1 damage. But then there was a blood sword incentive, essentially,
that's what it was.
I think every 4 enemies that you kill, you get 1 heart back or something like that.
Yeah, there was that one. That one in my game was paired with the life drain. Or was that the same thing?
I think that must be the same thing.
Okay.
So no, did not have just going in with the plain Jane weapons. What was your guys' primary items that you guys used? In I think for me, I had bomb, I had the power bracelet or whatever, I had the bow and arrow, and then I used the drum to be able to like hop in one place. That was my favorite item, hopping in one place on a beat, so that way you could stay in the you could. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Those lizard enemies, that the Lisfaros that run at you in a straight line, I could attract one, then move to the next lane over and just do drum, 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 and then it would just do a turn, basically, where I'm just staying in place. I love that thing so much.
I didn't use the drum enough, but didn't it buff your damage as well if you used it?
The way your damage got buffed was just keeping on time and clearing enemies. Yeah.
Okay.
So you had to keep the beat and also like kind of not necessarily a combo, but yeah, get a combo. Basically, you cleared 3 enemies without dropping the beat. Now you're doing bonus damage.
Gotcha.
So here's the upgrades that you can get for your weapons. There's one. I guess they just called it Emerald. This weapon infused drains the life from enemies after each attack. And I think that was the one that was described as life drain.
Mm-hmm.
Titanium. This weapon infused increases weapon damage by 1. And I never went for that one because I always had obsidian, which in obsidian, this weapon infused increases damage based on multiplier from beat score. Yeah, and in the actual description, it also tells you it'll increase it up to 3.
Oh, like times 3?
Yeah.
Or plus 3?
Plus 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, that seems a lot better than titanium as long as you can keep the beat. And I'm guessing with the mode that I was playing on, as long as I didn't get hit, then it kept it at 3.
Mm-hmm.
But and then the last one, this weapon infused deals poison damage with each attack with the weapon.
And you can only have 1 infusion per weapon?
And it was only for certain weapons, like the special weapons that you got that already had really cool effects on them. You couldn't infuse those or had really high damage. But like the flail that I was using, I could use infusions on that.
Could you infuse different items, or could you have one? Like you could put an emerald in one, and you could put an emerald in the second one, or you had to do one of the other 3. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
and what was another cool thing about them was once you used one of the infusions, it changed your weapon to that color. So if you used an emerald infusion, it changed it to green. If you used obsidian, it changed it to black.
Did the were the items or the infusions things that you paid for in rupees, or were they things you paid for in diamonds, or were they just things that you found and you had X amount of emeralds, X amount of...
You paid for them in rupees.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh, and yeah, that was another thing that reset too. Obviously, when you die, is your rupee count. So, as you're purchasing items or purchasing upgrades and things like that, it's like you have a finite amount. And there's certain stores that when you're moving around the overworld or like the map, like, oh, this thing has that one store there, and I can go there, and every time it's going to maybe be the same 2 or 3 items or whatever, or types of items. And so you could always seem to go to a store with rupees and buy stuff. But that would obviously reset.
Yeah, I misspoke. It was diamonds because it was the one that doesn't reset.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
But it was super low diamond counts. Cause,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It, like, diamonds kind of became trivial at some point.
They did, because, like, I guess you played like me, Dante, where, like, anytime I went to the screen, I was just going to clear out all the enemies. It wasn't until later on in the game I was like, I just need to beat this game and, like, chop. But, like, basically the whole time I was playing this game, every time I went to a screen, I cleared out all the enemies before I progressed, even when I was low life.
I did that until I realized, like, you could probably clear about, I'd say, a third of the maps in the game, or a third of the screens in the game before, like, enemies start respawning. Because at one point I'm just like, I'm just going to clear every single enemy in this game because I'm not dying anymore. And I can just make it super fast to traverse, but then, like...
They just respawn.
Yeah, they just respawned after a while where I was like, God dang.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The cost of things with diamonds became so trivial because, like, I felt like most things didn't cost any more than 10 diamonds, I think.
I can barely even... Aside from that second heart, did any...
Yeah, like, I think most things were in single digits as far as diamonds, and I felt like at one point I had, like, either, like, 70 or 99 diamonds or something like that. And I was just like, I can buy literally whatever I want. I guess you guys don't remember the max diamond amount you could spend?
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Let's see. Was there anything... let's see. We talked about... What did you guys think of the music? Dante, I see you...
Well, I have a go back after we talk about the music. Like, I mean... This one's weird for me to answer because I do like the music of Legend of Zelda, but I don't really have any opinion about these remixes, like good or bad. They were just there. And I guess the problem with this game for me is a lot of it just was there, even though, like, I don't know. Like, it did not feel like a Zelda game to me, per se, in any way. And the music, yes, it was Zelda, but if you kind of had to remind me in the heat of the moment that it was Zelda.
Wow. I dug it. I'm not necessarily like a super fan of like remix songs. I think I have to have some type of appreciation for at least remix video game music, that is. But I have to have some type of appreciation usually to even start to like a remix thing. But I would say that, like, I didn't have a problem with the music in this game. Like, I don't have a in particular fondness for Zelda music. There are some songs that are, like, to me are iconic, but, like, for the most part, I don't really have, like, love for a lot of the Zelda music. And I dug, like, the Hyrule theme, for one. I dug the remix of it. And they were done by Danny B, who did he's known for doing the music for, like, The Binding of Isaac, Crypt of the Necrodancer, and this Super Meat Boy, which I really like the Super Meat Boy music. So I also dug this music. How'd you guys feel about it? If you have any affinity for Zelda music?
I wouldn't say I had any I was really into Zelda music like that. I mean, but at the same time, it's not. I don't think the music was bad. It just kind of was. It fit the aesthetic, right? So I was just kind of paying attention to it for like gameplay reasons, but it didn't like stick out as like, oh, I really, really like it. It's good, I think, but nothing where it was like, oh, this is like really, really good. But that makes sense.
I thought it was good. It really did work with the game. I agree with Greg there. I think like I said, it's supposed to be a rhythm game, I guess. So it would be a shame if the music didn't fit, but I think it worked really well. I didn't have any complaints about it. I think one of the latter dungeons, I'll have to listen back again at the soundtrack to see if I can find it, but there was one track I really did like.
Just one?
Dungeon. One that I can remember. The rest of
Gotcha.
them were just kind of like, yeah, this is some Zelda music.
Yeah, I just think that I dug the music because it's kind of like an important aspect of this game. This is kind of a rhythm based game, so like I felt like it would have. Though I do have the complaint Dante had that I wish that the way the gameplay was, it wasn't on a metronome, but kind of focused more on the music. I do think that hearing some of these tracks, dozens and dozens of times, like I didn't get tired of it. So, which is I would have thought like. It could have been like how Dante felt about the menu music for Mega Man Battle Network, but it wasn't that. Even though you played for you hearing the same music for a long time. Do you have? I don't really have that much else. Did you guys want to like quickly touch on the bosses? Like, were there any that stood out to you guys, or that you dug more or hated more than the rest?
I think it was the. Was it the Glockenspiel?
Yeah, let me tell you. So there was the Glockenspiel was the power of lightning. The oboe was the power of water. The bass was the power of fire. And I forgot what the maracas were the power of.
So,
but what about the Glockenspiel?
The Glockenspiel is the name of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably my favorite boss fight. Just because, like, that was... I think Zelda Link to the Past was probably, like, my first game that had like bosses that I really enjoyed fighting, just because they you have to employ different strategies in order to beat them. Sometimes you can just apply brute force, but I think this was like one of the first games I played where it was just like, no, you really got to come in with a game plan and make sure you have all of your items stocked up and everything. And so, like, the Glockenspiel is the only one that really gave me a challenge. But I think it was fun the way you had to beat it in phases. Because that's the one where once you kill one of its heads, it kind of breaks off and then starts bouncing around the screen and attacks you that way. So you're trying to deal with that at the same time as, like, kill other heads on the Glockenspiel. So that was probably my favorite boss fight.
Gotcha. Did you guys have any that stood out to you as a favorite, or you didn't like?
Probably either was it Guitar Most, the bass Guitar Most Nights, and Octavo. I kind of dug being able, having to switch between Link and Zelda to try and avoid the since like some projectiles I think are music notes that you gotta avoid. So I kind of dug that, but I think I just like the design of Guitar Most.
Gotcha. I dug the maracas one, and I also dug the Octavo one, especially when you had to was it Octavo that you had to control all three people? Or no, that was against Ganon.
Yeah,
where you had to control all three. I really dug that one too, where you had to get the people on each person on a different switch. I was glad though. I was thinking that it was going to be even harder, and it was like once you got one of the characters on their particular switch, they would lock, and then you would control the other two, or whatever. And I was thinking like, oh, you had to space them out exactly this way, and like have to like do some hardcore puzzling. And so I was thankful you didn't have to do that.
This is a very technical question here, but during the Octavo fight, there was one move that he had that for the life of me I could never figure out how to dodge. And I can't remember the specifics of the move. I know, like, he was shooting, I guess, vertically down at you with, I'd like to say it's an arrow or something. Do you guys remember that at all?
I don't.
It was really bugging me because, like, that was the one attack in the game that I just had no clue how to dodge. Fortunately, I had two fairies. So, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm trying to look at his ones. But I can't see his attacks. I just see the ammo. I don't really.
I'll look it up while you think.
Oh, I don't really have a thing though. Like, I think my thing is over. Like, is there anything else that you guys wanted to call out? Because I think like I was about good to wrap up.
I mean, I think that's pretty much most of the game, right? I mean, we talked about music, bosses.
I mean, yeah. I guess the only other thing is the randomization. So this game, You touched on it kind of in the beginning, where you were saying that everybody's game will have a different layout. So even though like me and Trevor are both in the Lost Woods, my Lost Woods will look different than his Lost Woods, and like it's procedurally generated a different way. But once you visit that, I guess, square, that's the way it is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so.
And I think that was differing than the Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is truly like every time you start a new run, you're playing a different first screen, you know, a different second screen, a different third screen, so on and so forth. So it was a little bit easier, especially once you found some locations. Like for me, when I found the ferries, I already knew, okay, like as soon as I finish a section, if I need to get, like, I'm really close to dying, let me go to this ferry and heal up or whatever. And not having to guess where that was every time was, I felt it made the game a little bit easier. And going on that too, making the game easier. I lost it. Damn it! It was a good point, I swear.
I did have another thing I did want to talk about was I think we touched on it a little bit, but like I guess the difficulty in this game and like how the difficulty is very sharp, but then just plateaus in a way that I've never seen.
Yeah, that was the point I wanted to make. Is like the game started off, I felt like a steep learning curve, and then the swing and how the easy the game became, like it was night and day, like from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. So I know there were times when me and Dante were talking where it's like, I don't know when the last time I died was, you know?
Like, so I played this game in 2 sessions. The first session, I think I died 20 times. The next session, I think I died like maybe 30 minutes or an hour in, and then I beat the game after that. So, like, I'd literally say about 90 to 95% of my deaths in the first hour and a half, and then it just, like, I didn't die because, like, I knew where the fairy fountain was, and I just got my fairies. I enchanted my weapon, which made things easier as well. And there was just, anytime I got in super big trouble, I would just, you know, you had your little sitar or whatever it was that allowed you to just escape.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Your little fast travel thing. Yeah.
Oh, that leads me to a question for y'all. Wow, I just lost it. Man. Well, I had another question. If that one comes back to me, I'll ask it. But
I have a question in the meantime. Well,
my
question.
other question was, what equipment did y'all keep mapped, like besides your weapon, like your main weapon?
Oh, that's what I said earlier.
Oh, you did?
Well, I said for me it was the bomb, it was the power bracelet, it was the bow and arrow, and it was the drum. So those were my 4.
The drum.
It was a drum. Maybe you might not have had it in yours because did you have the metronome?
No.
Okay, so then like the drum was basically that's what I was explaining earlier.
Oh, I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, where you're like basically, you know, going to the beat. So like if you use the, you know, because you had to use the items. Not only did you have to move on the beat of the metronome,
oh,
but you
okay,
also had to
yeah,
use
I
your
remember
items on the
explaining
beat.
that now.
So then, yeah, I used the drum to kind of stay in place instead of having to move a specific direction, so I could wait out enemy attacks and things like that. I feel like if you would have got that, Trevor, then maybe the game would have been a lot easier for you, because then you could.
Well, the game was a lot easier for me.
Well, I mean, like it like maybe me, you know, saying, "Oh, Trevor's over here playing easy mode," and maybe I also was playing easy mode, but just not, you know, not as easy, because I was basically using something that allowed me to wait in place and kind of learn enemies' attacks. You know, so like I didn't necessarily work on the same timer as somebody that wasn't using the drums, where they definitely had to move a new square every single turn. You know,
Right.
What about you guys? What did you guys use?
I always had the cane equipped.
I didn't use the cane.
Man,
Oh, you know
that
what?
thing came in
You know why
handy.
you didn't use the cane? So did you have you didn't have a stamina bar, then did you?
Yeah, I did.
What?
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't have a stamina.
No. Like I'm talking about like for us, we had a stamina bar. Like we had to clear the screen in a certain amount of moves.
You did?
Yeah. So like there was a green.
That's not how the green bar. That's not how that works.
Maybe you had an item equipped that drains your stamina.
I was about to say that's probably what I think it was. Because you normally don't lose stamina just going through your screen unless you have something equipped that's like draining it.
Dude, I always, when I was in dungeons, I always had no stamina, so I couldn't use the...
That was probably because you were using the drum and stuff like that, because a lot of the sub-items do use it.
Okay.
All right, that makes sense.
Okay.
So, and yeah, every kill you get regains a little bit of that.
Yeah, it gets you a little bit... Okay, that makes sense then. I didn't know that. Shoot.
I'm like, this is a pretty... Like, that's just funny, because that's a super fundamental thing in the game, but...
And it makes sense.
You know, like, I'm not blaming you for it, it's just, there was a one-off text box about it at the very beginning, I think, and that was pretty much it. And like, there's no incentive to really study that bar, in my opinion. Yeah, so I could totally see how that happened.
Yeah. Well, it's me, of course. What about you guys? Which ones did you guys put items?
I think bomb. What else? What's the grappling hook thing? I use that.
Hook shot.
Yeah, hook shot. Yeah, I use that. And I was trying to remember what the last one was.
Boomerang?
Yeah, boomerang.
Okay. I booted mine up, and another thing that's different about this versus most Zelda games only allow you to... Well, I take that back. I was about to say most only allow you to equip 3
items.
3 items, but I think that's post Majora that happened, like Wind Waker, just because of the GameCube's button layout. They had 3, and I think Skyward Sword had it that way as well. And did Breath of the Wild have it that way?
I think Breath of the... I think
it had the right stick, because you only really had 4.
Yeah, I think Breath of the Wild was... Well, because you used the... It was like a wheel that you toggled, I thought.
That's right. That's what it was.
Especially, at least for your Seki powers, like the magnetism and all that stuff.
But I guess for the handheld Zeldas, typically speaking, you'd only have
AB.
3, because your main attack in this game is auto, so you don't have to map the sword to anything. Okay, that makes sense. So I use the bow a lot. And then behind that, I had the cane, which made the blocks, and the fire rod.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Did you have any other questions, Trevor?
My other one never came back to me.
You said what never came back to you?
My other question.
Okay. Do you have anything, Dante?
Did you guys, and I don't even know if you had the ability to do this, but did you guys get any other characters besides Link and Zelda? Octavo?
I got Cadence.
Okay. Did you, Marcus, get anybody else?
I mean, just those 3.
Okay.
Wait, did y'all get Cadence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was making sure that it wasn't just in my
Yeah,
name.
Cadence, Zelda, and...
Did you guys unlock Octavo at the end of the game?
Yeah,
I did.
Okay, I was just making sure because I wasn't entirely sure. Like, I guess this is another thing we kind of skipped over. So I got the physical version of this game, and I think everybody else was digital.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the
No, I was saying I got the digital. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But the physical one comes bundled with the DLC. So at some point, I actually, you know where Cadence is, like right in the beginning of the Lost Woods?
Sure.
Okay. Like, there's this tunnel behind her, essentially, and if you keep digging, there's a teleport that teleports you to essentially, like, the Dark World from A Link to the Past. And when I did that, I unlocked Skull Kid as a character. I didn't actually mess around with him, because I wasn't really trying to play the DLC at that point in the game. But there are more characters that you can get, at least with the DLC, I guess.
Do you have any other questions, Dante?
No, that was about it. Apparently, there's actually quite a few characters. There's
Shovel Knight.
is there Shovel Knight?
I was just guessing because he's like in everything.
There's Eves, which is a Deku. Octavo, we talked about him. You can get Impa, which is a pretty important character in a lot of the Zelda games.
Jingle.
Oh,
Tingle. I mean, Tingle.
Yeah. Which is kind of... he actually made a cameo somewhere in the game. I can't remember.
He did. I forget what item you get. I think you get the Lost Woods item, right? To help you get around in the Lost Woods.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So, they've got Shadow Link, Shadow Zelda, Arya, Frederick, and Skull Kid. That's interesting.
I feel
he's the shopkeep.
Oh, the dude with the turban, not the turban, but like the Middle Eastern kind of desert garb that he's wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. I kind of feel like we haven't really, not really given a vibe for this game, so we can make the pressure on everybody. So I'm gonna go with you first, Greg. Great game, great experience. Like this would be your closing thoughts section, point.
Yeah, great game, great experience. I mean, I liked it. I mean, it made me want to actually check out Crypt of the Necrodancer, like, give it a fair shot this time. So,
expect it on listen.
Yeah, we might do that. But yeah, I liked it, man.
How does it hold up for you as far as like a Zelda game? Are you like, does it make you more of a fan of Zelda game, especially that we're so willing to kind of do something like this with their IP? I
mean, I thought that was cool. I mean, is there very many times where like Nintendo works with indie devs like that? I guess they did with Shovel. Didn't they do something with Shovel Knight? Or am I thinking of? I can't.
I think they probably have at some point.
Yeah,
they probably have.
Oh, I guess they did the amiibo for Shovel Knight.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's kind of cool too. So, but yeah, I mean. I'm not like a huge Zelda fan, so like that part didn't really appeal to me. It was just kind of like a fun game with good music,
Gotcha. What about you, Trevor? Great game, great experience?
Yeah, I'll say it was a great game, great experience. Like Greg, I like the idea that they took basically the elements from Zelda games and, created a game with like different type of gameplay. But yeah, it was fun.
Do you have any desire to go and play the normal way?
Yes, you know what? I will try it out, and just because there are other things to unlock, and that was actually the question I was going to ask, which is whether or not y'all actually went through the game and tried to complete every screen.
I definitely tried to do that. I tried to clear out my entire map, and I tried to get all the items, or all the heart pieces and all the items in my inventory, which I was not able to do. But I definitely, that was a kind of like a challenge I set for myself.
Yeah. So now that I have completed the game and have a save file that's at the very end, I may go back and do that. Go back and play the regular version while I complete some of the side stuff.
What about you, Dante? Great game, great experience?
I think this game is okay. I feel so neutral on it as a whole. It's just hard for me to be passionate about speaking about it one way or the other. I appreciate what it tried to do, and I appreciate that Zelda, the IP, was used for an indie game, and it was something outside of the regular mold. That being said, it's hard for me to really consider this a Zelda game. And I hope that, devs aren't listening or anything, not going to take anything away, but it didn't really feel like Zelda to me. I didn't get that same thing. It felt more like a almost like DLC skin or expansion, which I guess was kind of like how the game was pitched originally to Nintendo. But you know,
I would 1,000% piggyback off that sentiment for you. Like, I think it was a good game. It was an okay experience. Like, I think it's like a cool, like, kind of one-off or like side Zelda thing. But I'm like with Dante, where this doesn't feel like a Zelda game. This feels like a Zelda reskin of another game. But on the flip side, like, kudos to them for being able to make this game and kind of, I feel like a lot of us, I get the feeling, because I think and I know Greg mentioned it as well, like, I'm more willing to check out Crypt of the Necrodancer. And so I do feel like this was like a really good way to kind of promote their game by using something that's more prone to get more people's attention and more eyes on it. And also kind of being a baby mode kind of version of the game too. So it's, from my understanding, it's not quite as difficult as Crypt of the Necrodancer. And I think because they have that wrapping of being, a Zelda adjacent or Zelda crossover, that they had to make it a little bit easier. So kudos to them. But yeah, I'm fine on it. Like, I think I enjoyed more aspects of the game than Dante did. Like, I enjoyed the music more than he did, but like overall, I'm kind of in the same boat with him as far as like, it doesn't really feel like a Zelda game. It kind of feels like a reskin or like
I just want to make it clear, I don't like regret my time with the game. It's just something I don't see myself going back to in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, for real.
Do you guys have anything else? Okay, well, if you like tuning into... No, I'm playing. Where can people find you at, Dante?
People can find me at twitch.tv/awakencloud. I was going to say I guess if they're listening on Twitch right now, as of tonight, I'm kind of relaunching my channel. So hopefully it's a better quality and I can get some more followers. And hope to see you there.
Are you still doing VR stuff?
Yeah, I got to figure out where I'm fitting that in my schedule. Okay. Tonight I'm doing Life is Strange, and then I'm also Sonic Adventure Tuesdays.
Oh, well, I did tune in. I was watching you play while we were playing our D&D. I was like, had you going on in the background and kind of following along what you were playing. So it looks really fun. What about you, Trevor? Where can people find you at?
You can find me on the internet at Lyric Unsung. So currently not streaming anything. Hopeful about the future of Pokemon trading card game, because I've been playing that online. So really hoping things get better towards the end of the year, so that I can play some TCG in person.
Okay. Where can people find you at, Greg?
You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/magnegro with a 0 at the end instead of a O. I haven't really streamed anything lately, but I'll be back soon with the same old stuff, Street Fighter. Maybe something else random here or there.
You got it.
And I'm on Twitter at Boombox Hero.
And you can find me on Twitter at Potato Salad and on Facebook at Potato Salad. If you like tuning in to Missed Checkpoints to find out about hidden gems, cult classics, and indie games, then share us with your friends, family, and the not shitty subreddit communities you're in. Comment on our Facebook page, add us on Twitter, leave us a review, preferably 5 stars on Apple Podcasts so we can repair higher on the leisure category. Obviously we have a fun time doing this and like hearing feedback from people. So yeah, hit us up. And I think we have for next month, it's April, we have on the docket, we have at least one bonus game that I think we've all played and we're going to probably record next week. But we also have Trevor's game, which is... Go ahead, Trevor.
Gravity Rush.
his desire to get a Switch game never happens, and well, actually, no, you were able to get it this time.
Yeah, I was about
right?
to say the next list will have.
Yeah, so we have our next batch of games as well. So we have for May, if you're playing along with us, we have for May, Greg's game, No More Heroes. Then June is Dante's game, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Then July, Trevor has 2 games. He has Hyper Light Drifter and was it Raji and Ancient Epic or?
Yep.
What's that game?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. I had just wrote Raji down. I didn't remember what the subtitle was. Yeah. And then finally, for August, we have my game, which is Beautiful Joe, which I'm super, super hype about. But yeah, we enjoy doing this. Hit us up. Let us know. Talk to us. You guys got anything else to talk about? Anything else? Cadence of Hyrule going once? Going twice? All right, well, with that, we're Miss Checkpoints and we're out.